hope everyone's okay. It's Wednesday, so here I am again. Yeah, I thought this week I would talk about the books that I've been reading recently. Not mega excited, but you know, it can't be lip syncing every week. Those of you who know me will know that I read an awful lot. My commute is about 50 minutes door to door, so I do that twice a day, so obviously I have quite a long time to read, and I love it, so I do a lot. But first of all, we're going to start with, it's backwards because I'm backwards, but this is Be Awesome by Hadley Freeman. It's described on the front as modern life for modern ladies, and I'm a big fan of Hadley Freeman's journalism. I read her a lot when she's on The Guardian, and she's brilliant on Twitter. She's really engaging, really funny. So I thought I'd pick up Be Awesome, partly because of how much I enjoyed How to Be a Woman by Caitlin Moran. I really thought Hadley Freeman would offer something similar and offer me the same sort of enjoyment, and I was very much right. I really enjoyed it, really enjoyed this book. There was a lot of usage of the word trope, which once you notice it, you can't unnotice it. I did tweet earlier in the week, I wonder if anybody's noticed how many times, I wonder if anybody's counted how many times Hadley Freeman uses the word trope in this book. But it's a really interesting... I'm getting more and more interested in feminism the more I learn about it. I've always classed myself as a feminist, and this book really brought that home to me. And I think one of the things that really, really stood out to me about this book, because there's a whole chapter on women and self-deprecation, and I know myself that I'm really, really guilty of... I can't remember what she calls it. I think it's something like self-deprecation Tourette's or something like that, where whenever anybody pays you a compliment, you make a joke about, oh, well, you know, you should have seen the other guy or whatever, like that kind of thing. And it's really nice to just take a step back and think about things like that. I think it's something that we're all guilty of, not just women, men, and Hadley says that as well. I think it really is something that we're all guilty of, and it's something that we could all pay more attention to, essentially. It's a really funny book, made me laugh out loud on the tube a couple of times, and it really made me think about a lot of things. So yeah, Backwards, Be Awesome by Hadley Freeman, check it out. Before that, I was reading The Unnamed by Joshua Ferris. This is backwards again, sorry. So I picked this one up because I recently, it was a really long time ago, when I was on holiday I picked up a book by Joshua Ferris from a villa that we were staying in. It was called And Then We Came to the End, and I loved it. It was so unexpectedly funny, it was so unexpectedly brilliant, and I had no expectations of the book when I picked it up, so it was really great actually to pick up something so fantastic. It's one of my favourites, and I kind of rave about it to a lot of people. The Unnamed was... So this is a fiction book, unlike Hadley Freeman. And it's basically about a guy, a lawyer, who lives in New York City. His name's Tim. And it's basically about... He kind of has these mini breakdowns, and whenever he has these mini breakdowns, he just starts walking and can't stop. And it's kind of... I didn't love it as much as I loved And Then We Came to the End. It kind of... it didn't have as much personality to it as that book did. I don't know, maybe if it's its age, maybe I would have liked this book more if I'd read it when I read And Then We Came to the End. But it's a really interesting concept. I'm just not quite sure about the execution of it. But yeah, I mean, that's not to say that I wouldn't read it again. It's interesting. It's quite an interesting look at mental health in a lot of ways, because he maintains that it's not a mental problem, it's a physical problem, and it's actually that his legs, he can't stop walking, not that every time he has an episode he walks, it's kind of his legs won't stop working. So he thinks it's a physical thing, and it's quite an interesting painting of his life and the lives of the people around him. So The Unnamed by Joshua Ferris is probably worth a look. I go through a lot of books. Like, I read maybe, I would say probably 3 books a month, unless I'm given a particularly chunky one. I've got a particularly chunky one coming up, so hopefully that'll slow me down for a little while. But yeah, the last one I'm going to talk to you about is Londoners by Craig Taylor. I'm sure if anybody lives in London, they'll recognise, well, firstly, the colours, because these are all the tube lines in London. I think any Londoners will really, really know that far too well in a lot of cases. And what this is it's a bunch, it's basically a collection of interviews that Craig Taylor carried out with Londoners, and it's about everyone, like every type of person that lives in London is pretty much covered in here. There's the guy who deals with the trees on Oxford Street, to the lady whose voice is on the tube, to a guardsman at Buckingham Palace, and a tube driver, and people who witnessed the 7/7 bombings, and people who've witnessed people jumping in front of tube trains. It is such an expansive account of London, and I found it fascinating. I really did. I really like people anyway. I find people really fascinating, and I just I couldn't get out of this book. I just wanted it to carry on. I just wanted more stories. And I've never really read any other books about London that I can think of. But this one really stood out for me. It's kind of something that I think every Londoner should read. I feel like every Londoner would appreciate it, because they'd see bits of themselves, or they'd see bits of their friends, or bits of the person that they see once a week walking down the road, who's clearly a neighbour but they don't know, they've never spoken to. I don't know, I just think it's a really fantastic book. I really do, and I can't recommend it enough. And yeah, it says on the back here, this is a book to deepen your relationship with London and make you fall in or out of love with it all over again. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed it. That's a quote from the Evening Standard, and I agree. Within the first 5 pages, I was in love with it. I didn't want to put it down, and when I finished it, I just wanted to turn over and start it again, because I feel like there's so many nuances in each story that you won't necessarily notice the first time. It's like watching a movie. I feel like this book has a lot to give, and I would really, really recommend it to everyone, but particularly to Londoners. So that leaves us with the book I have just started. I only started this yesterday. It's Vile Bodies by Evelyn Waugh. My dad told me he's a really big fan of Evelyn Waugh, actually, so I'm really looking forward to getting into this and hopefully finishing it. I've read 42 pages just today, actually, so really, really flying through. Yeah, I've never read any Evelyn Waugh before, so I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, still to come after that. God, I've got like 6 books on my shelf at the minute. I've got some Alice Munro to read, because everybody loves her after she won the Nobel Prize, and I'd never read anything by her. I've got Gone Girl. A friend of mine lent me Gone Girl. Thanks, Sophie. And yeah, plenty of reading to be done. Before I go, I feel like I should apologise. I've just noticed I've got makeup all over my face. I've just done yoga, which is why my hair is like insane. But yeah, I hope everyone's okay. Thanks for sticking with me. Hopefully we'll have some I know I keep saying this, but hopefully we'll have some interesting challenges to come soon. Okay, see you next week.